Shivani is in the ring and calls this the greatest wrestling city in the world and welcomes out. I mean, this guy's going to be called on it next time he tries this.
He's not a man who historically has shied away from hyperbolic statements. Yeah.
He welcomes out Sting and Darby Allin. Darby, coming off of a Nitro Circus, has his arm in a sling. And Sting takes the mic, thanks Philadelphia, mentions his history here, and he thanks Darby. Couldn't have come this far without him. He's the best partner I've ever had. And then Sting starts he's had some weird interactions with these fans. He's like, oh, I heard you say, oh, like he wouldn't be my best partner. But yeah, he's my best partner.
This was when Tony Tony in the back and Tony in the ring were probably thinking, okay, we have a lot to get through in this segment, so wrap it up, Sting.
He also thanks Tony Khan for making this happen, and this is where he says Tony wants me to give the mic back, so he has to forfeit the mic. And he says Tony Schiavone was the one who, man, did he get into this? He says Tony Khan should be thanking you, and mentions Sting putting TBS on the map 35 years ago, putting us into all those cable homes, making Ted Turner a rich man based off your Clash of the Champions match. And Schiavone signals for the special gift that Tony Khan has bought for Sting. He has secured a man. He has bought Ric Flair. And out comes Flair, his AEW debut. And, well, first of all, your thoughts here on Ric Flair coming to AEW, something that was expected a number of years ago. And it was thought at the time that the whole Dark Side of the Ring episode and the accusations were what was going to stop that. And I mean, this would I certainly saw there was definitely that brought up tonight of Ric Flair being used here, but I would also state that this is kind of par for the course that we have seen in many examples where once the heat dies down, they felt it was fine to use Flair. And I think that was the thinking here.
Yeah. I don't know how much of a discussion that is anymore whenever I've seen Ric Flair brought up recently. I really wasn't on Twitter today, so I couldn't see a lot of the reaction myself. But certainly when you look at the crowd reaction, I mean, the people just see Ric Flair, legendary Ric Flair inside an AEW ring. I think it was newsworthy because of, the man, when was the last time the man, other than maybe for his own match, appeared in any promotion outside of the WWE? The
NWA last year showed up for their anniversary show.
Okay, a good point. But to me, I think in maybe most audiences' minds, the man is very much tied to the WWE. Shows up intermittently, whether attached to Charlotte or at their halls of fame. Mm-hmm. So this felt like it was maybe a deserved sort of holy.
You've got all the parts now for his final match. Teams with Andrade against Jarrett and Lethal again, and
throw Sting in there.
Well, you certainly got the way they worded this is this was not just a one shot cameo. It sounds like this guy is going to be a regular fixture throughout this retirement run.
Yeah. So what do you mean? What do you think that means? Okay. He said,
he was purchased to be Sting's lackey for the next 3-4 months.
Right. Okay. So he got a
bought
contract.
You a man.
Well, that's essentially what
you're in charge of. Ric Flair for the next 4 months. You've got to get him from town to town.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the look on Sting's face. Sting. So listen, if Sting knew that Ric Flair was coming out here, the man deserves an Emmy because his reaction was I would totally buy the idea that they kept this away from Sting and he had no idea that Flair was coming out here because there was really nothing for Sting to have to do in this segment. So it's not as though he needed to be necessarily clued in that they could have done this as a legit surprise. I saw his reaction. I'm like, Sting's definitely a much significantly improved actor performer in the latter stages of his career, but I don't know if he's this good because he looked just stunned.
It looked very genuine to me. So yeah.
Look at this guy. We've never seen that this guy has had the range of Keanu Reeves before. And look at this man. I mean, that's just a different range for Steve Borden.
I mean, and the warm embrace that the two shared in ring felt very genuine as well. Maybe a first time, or at least first time in a long time type of meeting between the two on TBS, no less.
Flair speaks about magical moments and the clash match that they had going against WrestleMania, and how Sting lived up to all of the potential, became one of the greatest wrestlers, one of the biggest celebrities, and the nicest guy I ever met. And he wants to come along for the ride. When's this retirement, Sting? When is it? March? Sting's like, I don't know. We haven't announced the date yet. And then he gave a chop to Sting. And so that was the introduction of Ric Flair. And yeah, this is, I don't know, what do you think about this move? Like, as I just talked about, like kind of these older figures that are on your television. Now, Ric Flair, I would hope that the man will not be wrestling, but I can't say no to that completely.
I can see him campaigning for it, perhaps. And I can see Tony at least considering it, given just how much reverence he gives to, all these guys. So last match. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to see it.
With Sting.
Yeah, what do I think about this move? I mean, I think it's apropos for, a Sting sort of like closing of his career. I would not have expected him to be along for the ride, whatever that's supposed to be. I would expect an appearance.
This is something I would have done for like a one night thing. Like, and I would have done a bunch of these in the lead up to March. Like, not every week, but every so often bring someone from his past for a cool on-screen moment. I don't know if I need to see Ric Flair every single week. I think it's a really odd pairing here. Like, him and Darby just seem to have like negative things in common.
You don't know that. You don't see Ric
if
Flair.
This guy shows up at like a skate park with
You don't
Darby.
think Ric Flair's going to be at Nitro Circus the next time it's in Charlotte?
Oh, could be. Yeah. I mean, we will see what like the strength of Flair at this point is what, like, doing
these crazy promos.
I guess so. Like doing some of these like meet and greets at these shows, or maybe they're thinking like especially if you're going to book a lot of kind of Jim Crockett promotion towns in this lead up to the retirement. I mean, you can understand having a Flair attached to this whole thing. I guess we'll just wait and see. To me, this feels like something that there's a nostalgia for one night. I don't know how we'll feel for 4 months of Flair on television.
You'll get woos like in any town that Flair shows up in. Like, it's an automatic pop from wrestling fans, of course.
Him wrestling is a very real possibility.
Yeah, I know.
As we kind of work through that probability. Christian Cage interrupts with Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. He mocks Tony Khan, a billionaire, and this is the gift. He got a suit, gold chains, and a black liver. Makes a Weekend at Bernie's joke and says if there was a God, then Flair would have been dead 20 years ago. And then makes fun of Darby's broken arm and being in his hometown. It seemed like Christian, like, he kind of got like messed up here in his promo, because it made it sound like he put up the belt like, I'm going to give you a chance at this. And then kind of it sounded like he was going to challenge him here in Philadelphia, and then kind of like just worded it and got away from that. Put in his Phillies joke here, which he kind of like stumbled on, but the second the crowd heard Phillies, they were just irate. And Christian wants Sting gone now, not waiting until Revolution. So he challenges Sting and Darby to go find a partner, and it's going to be a funeral at Full Gear. And Sting's comeback. Achoo! Oh, I'm sorry. I'm allergic to jackasses. And man, if ever you want to hear what the definition of a respectful chuckle is, that's what this crowd provided. 64-year-old Sting of the ultimate like dad grandpa joke here. Oh my God. I'm allergic to jackasses. Like, yikes. This man has no fear.
He was a bit cooler when he was just up in the rafters, not talking at all.
Right. So, yeah. And the obvious tease is Adam Copeland being the sixth man that they are actively pushing, but Adam Copeland remaining steadfast. He will not fight Christian.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I just see that, of course, as, a long-term build, delaying it. But what are we getting here? 6-man, Christian, Nick Wayne, Luchasaurus versus Darby, Sting. And I guess, yeah, they're campaigning to get Edge involved. Or maybe it'll be Flair.
I mean, if Adam's not ready to go, then, Ric Flair is going to be bringing his gear every single week to whatever city they go to.